Good morning. Today is the 11th of March 2024 and I'm going to go over some levels during the pre-market and just come up with a plan for today. As always, before we start, let's take a look at the news. Just make sure I've got my mic screen on. And no major news today, nothing. Tomorrow we got quite a few. We've got CPI and anything else major this week. Core inflation tomorrow, Thursday PPI, and Friday consumer sentiment. But nothing today, so we can take a look at levels. Nothing moving in the pre-market. And you can see we had this bit of this continuation from the sell-off on Friday. Big move up. And then look at the volume difference as well. So Friday, little volume, but big sell-off. Let's just start with the daily. Okay, so we talked about this for over the last couple of days as well. We've been looking at this decline in volume over the last few days. We had decline in volume last few days. And we are just really trading within this range. Let's just draw it in. So just on my screen is the 1 hour ES chart. I've cleared all my levels. Let's go to hourly. No, let's put that. Why am I not seeing that? Strange. Okay, so, it's the hourly level, so it'll only show on the hourly, not the daily. But that's fine, we can do that. So we're just joining up October's 23 to this pivot here, which is last couple weeks ago. There, and gives us a bit of a area we can watch. And I'm just going to replicate that. You can see, clone it, almost exactly fits in. And just here, what I'm looking at is probably about there. What I'm looking at when I clone, it's an exact replication of that line, but it kind of touches that pivot, that pivot, that pivot. You can see then market flipped. This was holding the support, and then the support line became resistance, and you can say continue to stay resistance, and we put in that lower pivot. We could probably watch clone. Oh, we've got two lots clone. I'll get rid of one in a second. Let's get rid of that top one, don't care about that. You can probably clone that one as well, and it kind of touches the bottoms here, but I'm not interested in that. I'm just looking at the pivots. The most extreme ones are the areas we're looking for. That's where our supply and demand is going to be sitting as well. So here we go, we've got our trend line covering the bottom of that area up to the top. You know, this area of support, and we've got an area of resistance. But like I said, if we select that, you kind of could also be trading on it down there. I'll keep that in for now because it's a nice guide, because that's my original area before we put in this February 21st. I was using this pivot here, so which was kind of relevant. You can see it touched it there, and we kind of broke through it, touched it, and we're right at that area right now. So I'll keep it for now. Volume wise, you can see decline in volume on this hourly chart as well. So volume's declined as the prices increased, usually as a sign of weakness, and we've yet to get back up to the top end of this trend line. You know, we were there all along there, and then came back down, come up, tested it again, come down, and almost like as we start to reduce volume, a bit of increased volume here, and you already shows an end. Maybe it's showing signs of tiredness, and we haven't quite got there. We couldn't quite get there on Friday as well, although putting a new all-time high. So with that in mind, let's just go a bit closer. I'm going to get rid of this trend line because I'm only going to focus on the one below, and we've broken through it anyway. So got some levels for today. Hard to find a reject still because we are trending up, but the only reject I can see is probably this area of confluence. Let's just put it in, which is the bottoms of these pivots and the tops of this pivot. Kind of hovered around there on Friday as well. And you can see if we zoom in, it's an area I was watching on Friday for a bounce. In fact, my first trade was a bounce off of there and it didn't work. but you can see it kind of respected it when it came back in the post market. And so we can use this area as a higher risk rejection. So that'd be 51.95 to 5200, and that's a psychological number as well. Just to note, we've rolled over now. So ES, this is running. Is that the same? I've got different values on my NinjaTrader. We should be using the June contracts. Let's just change that. So probably everything I've just done. That's a bit strange. What's going on here? ES. Let's stick with June. And the funny thing is, my NinjaTrader differs to my trading view. This is the ES 52. I don't know. The numbers may be different, but the levels will be the same. I need to find out what chart. Maybe I just have to reload NinjaTrader. There's a few things looking a bit strange. I'm not quite sure what this is. Units. Look at this. How strange. And I notice the font looks a bit different as well. Hang on. So let's just restart NinjaTrader. Close all. Not Ninja Trading View. You can see, we're looking at 51.75 area. If not, I'll just use my hourly chart on NinjaTrader. That's what I'm trading off, so I might as well use that. Okay, give it a few seconds. Look, the font's changed now, it's a bit different. Oh, okay, look, we're back down at the right levels. How strange is that? Okay, so we'll stick with that. Okay, so I'm not sure what it's defaulting to. I notice it's different now. That must have been something weird going on with the desktop app. Okay, so with that in mind, go back to the daily for a second. We haven't got our trend line in place. Let's just put that in place because I want to just see the bottom of that. Okay, you see we're coming in to that area, potential bounce area. That's all I wanted to see. So back to the hourly, let's go back through the levels again. We've got missing our demand zones as well. I can add them in as well. So we've got this area here is a demand zone, and what I'm looking for is an area where we had a big reaction. Come in, reaction, maybe that's a demand zone as well. Look at that for a big reaction. But in particular, I particularly like this one down here. And how I draw my zones is from the pivot of the reaction to the body of the previous candle. Because that's where we had a turnaround. We saw a price rejection on the hourly still. So we had that price rejection, and there's buyers and sellers within there, and probably buyers at the bottom. So if it gets back down, the buyers hopefully will defend that position. Okay, so going back to the levels again. I quite like a high risk rejection, probably around this point of control, and it'll be bottoms of these pivots, bottoms of these pivots as well, and right on that 50, so 5200, that area there. So a little bit different to what we were talking about a minute ago. It's a 5200 round number, so that's the area I'm watching for a rejection. So let's draw that in. It's kind of an area, so 51.97 to 5200. Okay, and then make sure we've got the same prices. Yep. Okay, and now for the bounce, I quite like the bounce coming down off of this pivot here. In fact, let's just draw the demand zone in because I like this area as well. So going from the bottom of that pivot to the body of that candle. And what I'm looking for is for it to get into around about this area for potential bounce. Potentially, we've got this trend line, axis support as well. So the area I'm really watching for a bounce. If I zoom out, you can see an area of confluence. I'm watching about there. And the reason I selected about there, and that is at 51.55 to 51.60, but this entire area is in play, but particularly along that trend line, that area. We've got the point of control in that area as well, so that additional area of support. The trend line, that one we just drew in, another area of support, and there's an area of confidence as well. So you can see we've got bottoms of candles here, kind of tops of this consolidation and tops of that when we saw the sell-off on, what day was that? Tuesday last week. Bottoms of candles, tops of candles, bottoms of candles. I don't think there's much before that now, we're right up in no man's land area. Okay, so that's my bounce area I'm really watching for. That's higher probability bounce at 51.50, 51.60, that area. If we do get down into this area here, then we can watch 51.30 for a bounce. Let's just find an entry area. Okay, probably the bottom of that zone. Let's draw it in, and the reason for that is bottoms of candles, that double bottom, bottoms are there and tops of this area. So this entire area we can watch, and the reason I like it is because we've got big reaction areas. So that area there, and we had a big reaction when we got to this price level before, and we saw this big sell-off. Same again, and then we finally broke through, came up, we defended that area and saw this big push up, and again defended that area, saw the big push up. That's it really. There's only those levels, leather bounce levels, and we've got a higher risk rejection, and that's if we go with the hourly trend from Friday where we sold off. We're below the 50, we're below the 200, just about coming back up into it. We are, let's use this, is that better? So we're below the 200, below the 50, and we had this big reaction up here. So if we do get up to yesterday or Friday's highs, then I'll be looking for a potential rejection. Hard to draw the zone in here, but I'll be looking around that area there, and that's an area of supply. I'll change colour so we know where they are. Let's clear those off. So that's the supply area, looking for a rejection. We're getting that area. Hard trying to find a particular place, but probably around that area. It's a big zone, 42 to 57. So it'd be a matter of finding the trade, and for that I'll use order flow. And I'll be looking for areas of absorption in there, and then where the price is slowing down, being absorbed by big sellers or buyers. And then I'll be looking for small buying orders, which usually silence run that steam, and then for the rejection back down. And I think that's it really. That's the only levels I've got. Let's look at SPY quickly. Similar levels we're watching Friday, kind of watching for a... I still quite like the bounce around that area, so I'm going to move this down. Let's see how that works on the general scheme. Yeah, I quite like that. Tops of this head and shoulders pattern here. The shoulders, tops of candles, area consolidation, and bottoms of candles. So what was the ceiling is now the floor. And I quite like it. Also, we look like we could bounce off of that 200, and we've got this big volume point of control and this red line showing. And one other thing, let's go on to the weekly or the monthly. Remember this yellow line going right through the price action and coming down to the area we want to see a bounce. Funnily, that happens to be that big trend line we've been discussing for some time. Linking pivots from the year 2000, 24 years ago. 1999, yeah, 2000, March 2000. Hey, look at that, it's March 2024 now. When was COVID? March, wasn't it? 2021. Not sure if related. I'm sure we're looking into that. And linking to, was it January 22nd, that pivot, and now we're right at that area as well. And potentially this is major weekly, monthly overhead resistance above here. We see we couldn't get through it on Friday. We tried, and we are now rejecting it. So just something to bear in mind as well. And let's have a look when it rejected last. We were right up here on the MSI. I'm going to bring that pen down a bit. We were right up this area here, so up in the 80s, 70s and 80s. Look at that, up in the 70s and 80s again, and look where we are now, 70s and 80s again on the RSI. So potentially we could see a bit of a rejection. We are very overbought. You can see we're pretty far away from the 20, the 50 and the 200, and as you can see, market always wants to come back to the 200 like a magnet. It will eventually get back down there again. It has done. This is going over the years as well. So are we going to see a bit of a sell-off this year? Who knows? Oh, go back to the hourly. So levels, something we just discussed, it's going to be on this 200, but I would be looking at this point of control, and I'll be looking at this monthly trend line as well for, I'd like to say, a bounce. If we're going to continue the trend, we've got the bounce area down there. There's quite a lot going on in that area, and if we break down through that area, we can look for the break and retest short. So that's the area I'm really watching. 508.80 for a bounce, and if we break down through the 200, puts us below the 200 on the hourly, I'll be looking for a break and retest below 508. Potentially we've got a bounce area at 503, 504 area, and then rejection wise, maybe, just close that down, maybe we could watch for rejection along here, 514, right off the VWAP, and that's the area of confidence, tops and bottoms of candles. That's it really. I just really want to try and catch the bounce. Break and retest pre-market high, potentially, yeah, but we are below the 50. I prefer it if we're above the 50, higher probability, but we're below it, so maybe a break and retest pre-market low. Again, higher risk because we've got the bounce area we're watching as well, the 200, the volume. There's nothing. It's a tip. I think it's going to be quite a difficult one. Maybe see what the next hour brings in the market. Let's look at NQ next. So put in an all-time high on Friday before the big sell-off we saw. So anywhere up here we can watch for a rejection. Was looking weaker than ES at one point. Okay, well we are below the 50, we're below the 200, we're below the 20. Hard to want to go long. I quite like a pullback into Friday's low around here for a retest and then a short. So 18,300, nice round number. And bounce wise, if we can get down, that's not a very good chart really, get down to this area, we can watch for a potential bounce. Oh, why is that? For some reason I can't move this line. Here we go. I like the bounce around 18, look at that, almost 18,100. Okay, let's look at Qs for a second. I know we've got 10 minutes before the market opens. Kind of got this trend line again. This is the same trend line, but I've drawn it on Qs. Goes back to year 2000, March. Touched it there and broke through and rejected. So it'd be interesting to see what the next few days brings. The only bounce places, same as Qs really, Nasdaq, and that's at 433.60. Potential reject around this area About the same as 441.80. They're the only two areas I'm really watching. SPX. Okay, 5100. See where we open. 5100 for potential bounce, or if we break below it, a break and retest short. We've got a bounce area down here. Quite like that area for a bounce. So keep an eye on 50, 58, and then if we get further down, we kind of got the top of this gap before we have this gap fill. So 5,000 is key number. So rejection wise, probably a rejection of all-time highs, but it's hard. Like I said, we're in an uptrend, and it'll be scalps off the highs and decent plays in the longs, you know, going with the trend. So we've got to still go with the trend with this. If we can put a couple of trend lines in, kind of got an area to look for a bounce as well. Come back down into that area. 50.80 to 50.58 in place. Not much volume in this area as well. That's the only problem. Yeah, watch 5100. We know that area is significant because we've kind of rejected it, hovered around it, rejected, and then kind of bounced off that area. We see what happens when we come back down to the bounce. So let's draw my line in there, 5100, that area, looking for a bounce around here. Okay, gold next. Look at this volume coming in on gold on this push up, lots of volume. That's a 4-hour chart. So I think we need, if we can pull back down to this area, around there for potential bounce. And what's that on the fibs at 50%? No, far from. Potentially coming into the 50 as well. We're quite extended, and we're putting a big move, lots of volume, usually a sign that we're getting to an end of a trend, and kind of looks like topping tails reversing as well. Let's just draw the trend line in. Not sure where you can draw it from. Kind of hovering around, they haven't broken down, but if we break the structure, then we can look for a break of the trend line and a reject. So kind of break, reject, back down. So let's just go into the hourly, see if there's anything setting up. Kind of curving over. Looks like run out of steam, big volume. Trying to find a bounce area. Kind of like that area there for a bounce if we were to go on the hourly. Off of the 50 as well, and probably Friday's low. So keep an eye on Friday's low for a bounce. And hard to go against it, so I don't want to put any rejects in that yet. Oil. We talked about this on Friday. We watched for the break of this area, the break and the retest, exactly what we discussed. And then going down, so kind of retested it today. Didn't quite really, maybe there's a retest Friday coming into that pivot. Kind of setting up a left shoulder, head, right shoulder pattern. Not very nice, quite a messy chart. If I were to go long or look for a bounce, I kind of like this area here, 75.82, and then the next pivot down here. Oh. And 71.32, 72 area, and then for break and retest we've got to get over this area here. 79, well 80 is our break and retest, so we want to get above 80. Kind of continue this trend up. And then last couple, RTY, which is the E-mini Russell kind of this area for a bounce. We're kind of right in the bounce area right now. Let's go, if I'm looking at the pivot over here, but let's go more recent. There, maybe there. Okay, I quite like the bounce in this area. 2069 off the 200 moving average. We've got big volume below this point of control, so this could be another bounce area here as well. So let's draw it in. And 2052 for a bounce. Not looking for rejections really. Okay, YM. Kind of come down. I don't know if you can see this, so we kind of drop down and then we put in this kind of pattern here. It's like a bear flag pattern. And we broke through the trend line, come back up, retested it today, and we can potentially watch for a reject. Maybe a break and retest below pre-market low. Short, got a target of 38,900. All the volumes above on here, you can see at the bottoms of this area, so that's an area of confidence. So we can look for a reject as well if we get back up to around the 50. So 39,200 reject that area, and I'll probably try and find, yeah, it's hard to find because I don't really like the chart, but there, 39,300, 39,334 for potential rejection. Maybe we might spike the 200, big topping tail through it and then reject it or something. We've watched for that. And then Bitcoin, which is just rampant right now. Get rid of that, we don't need that trend line. Not quite sure what happened to these lines, but I had one sitting at 61. And these are important to me because these are areas. Hang on, wrong one. Oh, let's move it myself. I'll get rid of them, don't need to be there. I took profit right at 69,000 on Friday. It's a decent time. Again, what I'm watching for, because we've seen this big amount of volume, usually shows an end, a sign that the trend's ending. Look, big hammer candle as well, shows weakness. And if we were down here, bottom of a trend, or we pulled right back, then a hammer candle will show a sign of strength. But at the top of a range, you can see we were up here, we opened there, we kind of got all the way down, that's just lots of sellers, and we kind of closed there. I appreciate the fact that we are still pushing up, we're running along this this 8 moving average, pretty extended. But here we go, got this big wide range candle today already, and we've got hardly any volume to go with it. I know day's not finished yet, we may see a lot more volume, but if you compare that candle with, say, a similar size one, even this one here, day before, got 3 times the amount of volume there. That's the arrow. Compare that one, that candle there, 3 times the amount of volume than what we've seen so far today, and we've got this big candle with very minimal volume. So be wary, we're very extended. I wouldn't want to go long. You know, for me, I took profit. It could hit 100k, but we're at all-time highs today. Okay, right, market's open, so trade safe and manage risk well. Just before I go, I'm going to put my alerts in because I'm not going to contemplate any trades unless my alerts are triggered, and then I can just go off and do other things. Job done. Okay, thank you for watching. Stay tuned because after this I will do the order flow screen, this screen here.